Welcome to It's Just Our Opinion podcast and video. Remember, it's just that, it's just our opinion. It's not the opinion of others that we may work for, represent, and other organizations that we're affiliated with.
Hey, we don't want to represent anybody but ourselves. You know, when we just talking like this, we might say something that's really interesting. So we don't represent nobody. But hey, welcome again. I'm Ray.
This is Josh.
We're here and hope you have a great time today. Just watching us talk about random stuff.
All right, so we're going to get started off. We're going to talk about some funny facts that we've got going on today. Get in a little bit of sports. Talk about a little bit of funny stories, and we'll go from there. Starting off with, I'm sorry I missed your last episode, but we're back on track to stay on another episode. We actually filmed an episode for you, but it messed up with the cows, so we kind of had to give you something before we could be back together again.
I don't know if it was our sound person or what, but all of a sudden the talk just went slow motion, so we couldn't use it. But it was been good. We're going to try to do that one again in the fall when it cools down. That's
right. So starting off today, we like to talk about, there's a fun fact that Ray's been looking up some different facts going on. He's going to introduce the first one that we're going to do.
Well, we done some of this last show, if you remember, some fun facts, and I guess the first one we want to let you know about is how men get out and get in trouble sometimes. Men are 6 times more likely to be struck by lightning than women. Now, do you have any idea why a man would be 6 times more likely to get struck by lightning?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with competitive nature, that we get out there and we start, we get on the ball field and, playing church softball or out in the golf course, and we're not smart enough to get in out of the rain.
Probably so. You know, men play golf and they love to fish and all that, be fishing and see a storm coming, and so, it's not here yet. But, the lightning, I've always heard if you can hear thunder, that the lightning's close enough to strike you.
That's right. Well, I think that's the thing. Women are smart enough to say, hey, we might need to get out of it. We'll put the competition aside. We'll just get out of the way, and we'll let.
Well, I know that's the way Gina is. If it looks like it's going to rain, she's in the house. She ain't outside. But, us men, even during storms, we like to go out on the patio and
watch. Yeah, that's right.
So that makes sense. That's interesting.
I'm guilty of it. I chase storms. I've chased tornadoes before, and Mary says I'm crazy, but she can't say that because she jumps out of a plane. So I don't see.
Yeah, that's a lot of difference.
I don't see the comparison though.
I don't either. We'll get Gina in a storm shelter, and I won't stay out and watch. So I guess it makes sense. But I never thought of it 6 times.
There's probably a lot of truth to that. I do stand out and look at storms, and we are. A lot of times, if you're out with your buddies, you can say, "Oh, well, we like to think we know what we're talking about." And we got 10 minutes before the storm hits, and you're right. If you're hearing thunder, there's lightning around, and you're probably close enough to get struck. So, that's something that's an interesting fact, and probably carries some weight of.
Well, we don't want to be one of those statistics. I don't want to be in that 6%, but I sure don't want to run in the house that quick. But anyway, y'all be careful if you hear a storm coming up, especially men. Now, women, I think y'all pretty safe.
Yeah, y'all stay smart and bring your man inside if he's not smart enough to get out of the storm. So, secondly, moving on, we're going to go into a little animal science today. Animal science is one of my favorite subjects, and there's a lot of interesting facts you don't know about animals out there. Starting off with, did you know cows kill more people than sharks do?
That's hard to believe, really, when you think about it. If you've been reading the news or watching TV, in the last 6 months, there's been so many shark bites. But now they hadn't been killed; they just been biting them.
That's right.
But you never hear about a cow bite. We got cows here on the farm. I've never been bit by one, but cows kill more people than sharks do.
I bet you had a few cows that wanted to bite me the other day.
Yeah, I'm sure there were several that would have liked to.
The show that we were going to bring you the other day, they didn't cut out. I was actually pregnancy checking some cows. We hope to show you that later on of how to do that and some of the techniques that goes by. But we had them in a head catch, so they couldn't turn around and.
There were several mad though.
Yeah,
they was really mad. There's just a lot of graphic details that go with that. When we redo that show, that you'll see that But they probably did want to kill him,
But you know, cows do kill more people, and we've seen it time and time again with, you know, we talk about Ellie and the ground children. They get out in the pasture and stuff like that, and they get comfortable around cows. That's what a lot of times happens. You get comfortable around it, and one thing that we teach in animal science and we teach in the ag side of things, they're still animals.
they are. They're not pets. They're not dogs and cats. Now most of ours you can walk up and rub, but really, you know, it's not really good to do that all the time because.
But any given day,
they could turn on you because they're not a dog or cat.
So yeah, when you're working with cows like this right here, when you're working with cows, make sure you stay. If you ever have a chance to go back and watch it, I'll put a plug in for there's a movie called Temple Grandin. Temple Grandin revolutionized the whole cattle industry, the whole slaughter industry, and basically went through. She has autism, and she went through working on, I believe it was her aunt's farm, and she was going to college, and she revolutionized, basically lived and walked through as a cow did, and realized that, hey, they don't like corners, they don't like shadows, and she realized how you need to work cows and how you need to move them around. And you know, that's important when you're working cows. You need to know that flight zone. There's actually a circle around them that move.
Oh, yeah.
We were talking with the kids the other day when we were working on how do you move cows, because they are prey animals.
Oh, yeah.
So predators, their natural instincts flight or fight. I mean, if they turn around, and especially if they got babies, you see a lot of times that they got calves.
We had one here a few years ago that just had a calf, and you know, it didn't want you near it. When you got close to the calf, she'd charge toward you. You know, if you think they're friendly, and most times they are, but they are protected like it. And you know, and I watch the grandkids all the time. I never want them to get behind the cow.
That's right.
Because the cow will keep.
Or the side.
Even the friendlies, yeah, or the side, because they can keep sideways. And so, you know, you got to be careful. But it's just amazing. Cows kill more people than sharks. Hey, you wouldn't think that by listening to the news, because you never see ABC or CNN or nothing doing a show on a cow killing somebody. It's more dramatic when they talk about a shark.
Yeah, no. Another thing is, a lot of people like to go out. I mean, if you're around cattle, that's one thing. Just don't go out into somebody's pasture if you don't have permission. You don't know the cows. But cows, because cows, you've seen it before. People can come out here. They know if strangers are out there. They know the people they're around naturally.
Yeah, they know. I mean, it's their territory. They base their territory where they at, and they're real sensitive about it. So strangers, beware if you're around a stranger, a bunch of cows if you're strange to them.
I know one thing, and I think you probably believe in it too. If you've got a bad disposition cow, which means their behavior, they probably need to go ahead and go to sale barn, don't you think?
Probably need to go to sale barn. You know, you just have to be careful, especially now that we know cows kill more people than sharks.
That's right. So. Let's go to, you talk about sharks, let's go back to our ocean friends here. What do you got on dolphins?
Dolphins. We found out that dolphins sleep with one eye open. And you know, that's amazing to me. It's kind of like, you know, reminded me of, I believe my mama used to be part dolphin, because, you know, I'd try to slip in the house late at night and you know, thinking she'd be asleep at midnight, but evidently she was sleeping with one eye open, because I never got nothing by her. But that is amazing, one eye open.
Did she make dolphin sounds too?
No, she didn't. She didn't make dolphin sounds, you know, but I just...
Is that why we like the beach so much?
Yeah, that's what it is, yeah. We love the beach. I mean, the whole family loves the beach, and we see a lot of dolphins while we're there. You know, I've never seen one sleep. Well, it'd be hard to tell if they sleep while their eyes would be open.
I didn't know they slept, personally.
I figure they have to some, but it'd be very confusing, because you wouldn't know which eye was sleeping and which one wouldn't.
So dolphins sleep with one eye open. I guess my question is, How did they figure that? I mean, did they notice it in an aquarium? They're just hanging out. What?
I don't know how they did. You know, I just wonder if they change eyes during the night. You know,
Well,
like
get
we.
one to rest.
Well, we roll over, you know, and stuff, and I just wonder if they just switch back and forth. If
One
they
eye
play.
needs to get some sleep. The other eye needs to stay open. That sort
But that
of
was,
thing.
I thought they were really interesting.
You know, I saw something the other day. I was watching a documentary. I don't know where I was. I actually think it might have been last Sunday here at your house. I was watching something on at they were doing a film on great white sharks and stuff, and there was actually 2 dolphins that had made friends with a great white shark and was basically hanging out. And they said that the dolphins were known to every once in a while make, you know, kind of befriend or hang out with the great white. Also, like if they couple them together, they would pester the great white.
Oh,
So,
bet
you know, I mean, you got to think they're interesting animals. They're pretty fascinating.
There they are. They're really neat. I mean, you know, they're basically friendly animals. But you know, you just I thought they were really interesting. To sleep with one eye open, you know, and I couldn't do that. But there again, I'm not a dolphin.
Well, you know, Mary started. You know, Gina does too. She watches those Criminal Minds show. You know,
yes.
you might.
When I'm out of town, I bet she sleeps with one eye open.
Well, I was about to say we might need to sleep with one eye open. They may be plotting something against us.
No, they wouldn't want to take a chance of the show having to end. You know, the millions that we're making on this show, they don't want us to lose any of that income coming into the house.
I don't know.
So
She might make some money off my life insurance policy though.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move back to the farm. Let's move back to the farm on some sheep here. You know, sheep are tied to many United States presidents, James Madison being one. He actually wore the wool coat of his sheep that was sheared during his swearing-in ceremony. And also, Woodrow Wilson kept sheep on the White House lawn during World War I to keep the grass down. I mean, I thought that was fascinating. I think this country was founded on agriculture, but to have sheep on the White House lawn.
Roaming the White House lawn. You know, that would have been interesting to see. You know, we've been up there and seen a lot of squirrels running around, but we've never seen sheep. But you know, you wouldn't have to pay those sheep to keep the grass.
That's right.
Be down like this. So that would be interesting. It had to be creative to do that too. And I just wonder if it was his sheep or did the government own them.
I don't know. I didn't look too deep. I've always heard that. You know, with sheep, the cool thing about sheep, I've always been told. Now we're compared to sheep a lot biblically and in the Bible, and God references that several times. But sheep in the Bible and sheep have always been told. I've always been told this, that you could go, like if I sold a sheep, I could go back like 3 years later, and that sheep would still know its owner. It has that good of a memory. I never knew that about sheep.
No.
Now every sheep I've had to deal with, I will say they are stupid animals. Now, I don't like using the word stupid,
yeah.
but they are animals that they look for a place to get out and they look for a place to die on a constant basis,
Oh, no.
especially in the southeast.
Well, I didn't know they're that smart. I didn't know you go back 3 years later. You know, years ago I had girlfriends that didn't even remember me 3 months after So can you imagine 3 years? I mean, I walk up to these people that you know, after 3 months and, you know, try to carry on a conversation, they'd act like they didn't even know me. But these sheep can remember for 3 years. That's amazing. That is amazing.
It is amazing. Animals are amazing. You study animals, study animal science. So I hope we'll give you some more animal science updates. Hopefully some things to talk about later on, raising cattle, raising pigs, and different things. But let's switch gears now. Let's get into some sports action. Close out our segment in sports here. Alabama, Auburn both won this weekend.
Oh, they both won real impressive. I mean, it was really good. New Mexico State, I think, scored 10 points is all, and Auburn, I think they only allowed 6 points.
That's right.
So Alabama and Auburn really done great this week.
Couple takeaways from that. I think Alabama is the team to beat. LSU looked very impressive last night against Texas, but I will say that Alabama, one thing I'd like to see more of Alabama, I'd like to see more run game. I'd like to see them improve on the run game side of it. Talking about Auburn's got to improve their run game. They got to get outside because we started out the half with only like 24, 30 yards of running, and that's not good. That's not good enough to win ball games.
Not when you get a competitive team on the other side. You're gonna have a lot more than that.
That's right.
So you know, I'm proud both of them won. I mean, they real impressive. Though anytime you can hold a team to 6 points or 10 points, and you know, I kind of felt bad for New Mexico State. They don't have to travel that far.
They got paid though. You know they got it.
Yeah, but that's a long
They might
bus
have got a
ride.
check.
You think they rode a bus, or you think?
No, they rode a bus to the airport, and the airport took them back to
well,
New Mexico.
I don't feel it's bad for them. I figured they might have had a bus ride.
Now, I will say, Alabama looks good. Tua looks good. You got a receiving core that's pretty unbelievable. The receiving core is pretty with Jarrett Judy and those guys. They look pretty impressive, and I think that's the strong point. I like to see, like I said, more run game. As far as Auburn goes, they've got some things to figure out on offense. Our defense is unbelievable. I will say that Auburn's defense is probably one of the best. They allowed 2 field goals. You watch them against Oregon, they let them score on the first couple of drives, but it's like Kevin Steele knows how to get an in-game adjustment with that. So he did fabulous.
I think you're going to see good things out of both of them. I mean, so far, early in the year, of course, and neither one's really, well, Oregon was pretty decent for Auburn, but you know, they hadn't really showed what they've got yet. They've showed they can score.
That's right.
And I think we're going to see some real good ball games later on. And I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, this early, but they may be undefeated when they play each other.
That's right. Like I said, LSU looked really good. They looked really stout. But let's go into some next week's game. There's not really any big games that stand out. We got some SEC openers and things like that. But let's take some pick-ems. I'll see what you say, and I'll say we'll go quickly down the list to wrap up our show. First up, Alabama and South Carolina.
Well, there again, it won't be a match. Alabama, you know, they may let them score 10 points, and you know, about all they're going to score too. Alabama's just too aggressive and too the passing game is just too much for South Carolina.
I agree with you there. It'll be Alabama all the way. I mean, it may be like a Duke game. Alabama might start out slow, but they'll end up winning by 30 in that game. I just think this is not the South Carolina that Steve Spurrier had in I believe 2008, 2009, 2010.
Yeah, it'll be a long time before they get that good again.
That's right. What about Auburn's got Kent State? I think that's a fairly easy opponent there. They're
yeah, Kent State. I mean, I can't see them even scoring. I just can't see. You know, Auburn is going to shut them down. I mean, it won't even be a game. It'll be hard to find that one on TV. But if it's on TV,
I don't even think it's. I've not looked at it today, but I don't even think it's on TV.
I just hope it's not 100 degrees next week. If it is, won't nobody be there.
It's Auburn's homecoming, though. It's Auburn's homecoming. I got to enjoy the Auburn game yesterday, but it was 100 degrees, like you said. It was hot. It was hot. I mentioned this game, USC and BYU, because BYU put a win against Tennessee, which gave Tennessee two losses. I feel bad for Jeremy Pruitt up there, former Alabama assistant, but Tennessee is looking pretty terrible this year.
They are. Tennessee won't bounce back. They've still got a couple of years left before they'll win anything. I mean, they may win 1 or 2 here or there, but they're not. You know, BYU beating them is not reflective of how good or bad BYU is. It's just Tennessee is just in a slump. And it's going to be a while before they do any good.
What about Florida and UK? We got Florida and the University of Kentucky. I think Florida's the winner there, in my personal opinion.
Florida, yeah, it'll be good the first half, but after that you can go home. Florida's going to win that.
I think so. This doesn't look like the Kentucky team we saw last year. The last one I want to talk about, Southern Miss and Troy, because we've got a local boy here at Troy, and we're pretty proud of him who went to Priceville and playing there. So I'm going to go with the hometown feel and go with Troy on this, being Southern Miss.
You know, I'm pulling for him too. You know, Mr. Barker there from Priceville has just been great, and he had a great opener. I know they was off this past week, but they was real impressive the first week, and I'm going to go with them too. I just think they're going to surprise a lot of people this year.
That's it. Hey, that's the end of our show, and we just want you to know,
hey, we sell a lot of stuff, but it's just our opinion.